All right, everybody. First and foremost, welcome to today's webinar. This is Dave Payerchin with Columbus Turnkey Houses. And we have a very special guest here today, Mr. Edwin Kelly from Specialized IRA Services. And today's webinar is Creating Tax-Free Wealth with Cash Flow Properties. Edwin happens to be America's leading expert on self-directed IRAs and self-directed retirement accounts. He's the CEO of Specialized IRA Services, which is an IRA servicing company. And he's going to show us how we can lower our taxes and even invest tax-free. It's taken a lot to get Edwin here with us today. We're very excited about this information. And without further ado, Edwin, why don't you share what we're going to go over here today?
Great, Dave. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here and to share this information with you. And what you're going to learn in just the next few minutes is about a strategy that can absolutely enable you and empower you to completely rewrite your own personal financial retirement, as well as rewrite your family legacy. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump into what we're going to be talking about today. What we're going to discover today is why 95% of Americans fail to become financially free. I'm going to walk you through the simple solution that's going to allow you to create financial security and rewrite your entire family legacy. And best of all, we'll talk about how simple it is and easy it is to get started. So who am I? As Dave says, I am CEO of Specialized IRA Services. We are a self-directed IRA administrator. We will be talking more about that a little bit. What is that? Why is it important to have one of those on your team? I've been in financial services, retirement accounts, alternative, non-traditional assets like real estate for the last 24 years. I have co-authored one of the best-selling books, Leverage Your IRA, and as Dave says, I'm considered America's leading expert when it comes to self-directed retirement accounts and self-directed strategies. So that's a little bit about my background. Let's just start with what I alluded to in our agenda there. Now, one of the things you're going to find about me is that I'm a prolific researcher. And so some of that research, the most relevant research, I'm going to be sharing with you here today. In fact, you're going to find that I'm going to source everything for you so you know exactly where I'm getting my information from. So according to a recent study conducted by the Social Security Administration, here's what they found. Now let me tell you what this study was all about. IRAs, do you remember when IRAs were introduced? IRAs were first introduced back in 1974. So we have a little bit better than 40 years of history on this at this point. And what most people did was they opened up an IRA, they put money in it, they put it in the stock market, typically via mutual funds. And what Social Security wanted to find out was, well, okay, if we start at the beginning of someone's working career, okay, and they decided to kind of base this study on 100 people that represents a cross-cut of the population. If we take 100 people at the start of their working careers and follow them to the age of retirement, which they defined as age 65 for purposes of this study, what do we find happening to these 100 people? And here's what the study found. Only 5 in 100 are financially secure at age 65. Now here's the most important question. Why? Why is that happening? Why is it that 95% of Americans fail to create any kind of financial security by the time they retire or in retirement? Well, there's three forces working against people today, and most people aren't aware of these. So we're just going to touch on these briefly one by one. The first one is uncertainty and unpredictability. The second one are expensive fee loads and commissions, and then the third one is taxes. So let's begin with uncertainty and unpredictability. The way that most people choose to invest, particularly in their retirement accounts, is into something called a mutual fund or something that is tied to the stock market. Now what you can see here is a chart of the S&P 500, which is a broad representation of the stock market. And you can see that the graph goes up, it goes down, but it really never goes side to side. And so the first problem with this investment strategy is that it's very unpredictable. It's uncertain. Nobody knows whether the stock market is going to close up, down, or the same at the end of today. Okay, and that is in fact the problem. So that's the first problem, is the uncertainty of the stock market and the way that most people choose to invest. Second problem are expensive fees, commissions, and loads. So there's a company out there called the Investment Company Institute. You can find them they're also referred to commonly in financial circles as the ICI. Now, the ICI is a very well-respected industry research organization. And every year they publish their investment company fact book. And these numbers don't change too much, so this is pretty much the same year to year. And you can see here that in the investment company fact book that they published back in 2013, if you come down to the bottom, you'll see that it says maximum front-end sales load at the top of that chart. And at the bottom, you'll see some numbers. And that goes year by year. So what does that say? It says that the maximum front-end sales load, on average, is about 5.3%. So let's put this in dollars and cents for us, because what does that really mean to you and I as investors? Well, here's what it means. Let's say that you have about $100,000 in an IRA. You could pay up to $5,300 in commissions plus ongoing fees of $1,500 a year according to the ICI. Now that's $6,800 your very first year. Think about that for a second. You have to go up $6,800 in the stock market just to get back to zero. That's the problem with expensive fees and commissions. The third and final problem we're going to touch on briefly are taxes. And there's a huge problem with taxes. And here's what it is. When you earn income, you can be subject to federal tax, state tax, local tax. Now again, state and local depend upon what state you live in, but most states do have some form of state income tax or local tax. Medicare, Social Security. So again, if we want to put this all in dollars and cents, when you make $100,000 a year, what could you be giving away in taxes? Well, you could be paying $42,200 a year. Think about that for a second. That is a significant portion of what you make, whether you do it through a job, through a business that you run or own, or investments that you make. Is it no wonder, with these three problems in mind, that families can't seem to get ahead? Well, here's what I want you to know. If this has happened to you or someone you love, it's not your fault. It's not your fault because no one's ever bothered to talk about this or educate you on this. Most people are not able to access this kind of information. So it's good that you're here today. So let's talk about this. What's the solution to that problem? The good news is there's three simple things that we need to do. The first one is eliminate taxes. And we can eliminate taxes, and by the way, eliminating taxes is usually the best thing to do. However, we can reduce, defer, or eliminate taxes depending upon the type of accounts we use. But we're going to use an IRA to accomplish that. We're also going to avoid or no more expensive fees, commissions, and loads by using a self-directed IRA. Typically, when people move money from a plain vanilla type of an IRA at a traditional type of financial institution into a truly self-directed IRA, they end up immediately and instantly saving an incredible amount of money on fees. And the third thing is to eliminate uncertainty by diversifying from the stock market into things that you believe can be more predictable, certain, and secure, like real estate. Now here's one question that always comes up. Is it really legal to buy real estate in an IRA? Because there are some people out there who will tell you that you can't. Well, again, what we have to do is we have to go back to the government and consult the rule book. Now, when it comes to IRAs and retirement accounts, they're generally regulated or overseen by the IRS and the Department of Labor, the DOL. So here on the IRS's website, you can see there's a section called FAQs regarding IRAs. And if we scroll to the bottom of that page, you'll see there's a question in bold in the center of your screen. And the question is this. It says, are there any restrictions on the things that I can invest my IRA in? It goes on to say, as a matter of fact, there are, right? And it talks a little bit about that. But now look here. The IRS was kind enough to give us an example right here on their very own website. And here's what it says. It says, finally, IRA trustees. What is an IRA trustee? An IRA trustee is the IRA provider or the company that holds your retirement account. It says IRA trustees are permitted to impose additional restrictions on investments. For example, because of administrative burdens, many IRA trustees do not permit IRA owners to invest IRA funds in real estate. But look at this last sentence here. IRA law does not prohibit investing in real estate, but trustees are not required to offer real estate as an option. They tell you front and center right there on their website that you can do it. So buying real estate, is buying real estate in your IRA legal? Absolutely, and the IRS even put it in writing. So let's talk about a secret tip here. I didn't mention this one earlier, but a lot of people think about self-directing as being a secret, and a lot of people who have had a lot of success with investing in self-directed IRAs have considered this a secret. Now, where does that come from? Well, it comes from the popular media. And you can see here's an article from Bloomberg. And the title of the article is The Secret Behind Romney's Magical IRA. Now, what is this article about? Let me give you a brief background here. When Mitt Romney decided to run for president, he had to disclose his personal financial statements. Now, this isn't political. I don't care if you're a fan of Mitt Romney or you're not a fan of Mitt Romney. The bottom line here is that there's a learning lesson for us. And Bloomberg points it out. Because what Mitt Romney was able to do in about 15 years was grow an IRA to about $101 million. He did that over a 15-year period of time. Now, the question that they referred to is that they said, given the relatively small amounts that the law permits to be contributed, meaning contributed means taking money from our current earned income and depositing it inside of our IRA. But once that money's in there, you can make as much money as you can on that IRA. There is no limit on the amount of income or profits you generate inside the IRA. And that's what Bloomberg is talking about here. That within 15 years, with small dollars that he put into an IRA, he was able to amass about $101 million. Here's the great news. The secret, though, isn't magic. The secret is a self-directed IRA. That's the vehicle that Mitt Romney used to grow that account so large, because he was able to invest in anything he wanted to invest in so long as the government allowed it. What did Mitt Romney invest in? Well, I can tell you what he didn't invest in. He didn't invest in mutual funds. Harvard's endowment fund also has leveraged these principles for decades, and you can too. In fact, the wealthiest individuals in America, as well as some of the wealthiest institutions, have been practicing these strategies and utilizing these strategies for years. So although this might be new information for you today, this is not new at all. It's been around for 100 years. Let me give you an example of that. The headline from July 18th, 1917. This was the New York Times. Harvard had released or launched a new endowment fund. And it says Harvard's new fund reaches 1.18, let's just round that up. Let's just call that $1.2 million. Okay, $1.2 million is what Harvard had back on 1917. Let's take a look and fast forward to the year 2009. They had grown that endowment from 1.2 million to $36.9 billion. That's billion with a B. Question is, how did Harvard do it? Well, they used the same principles that we teach and what we're teaching you right now. There's 3 things that Harvard does that you can do. The first thing is that Harvard self-directs. What does that mean? The way that many institutions work is that they hand off their money to some other company to manage for them. Perhaps you've done something like that with your own retirement account up to this point. What Harvard does is that they have their own investment management company set up. Now, does that mean that they make all the investment decisions themselves? Absolutely not. what they do is they go out and work with different professionals in different fields and ask them to assist and manage certain specific investments for them, or to make certain investment decisions, or to help with those decisions. That's what we mean by self-directing. Self-directing means that you have the ability to invest in any investment the government allows, but that doesn't mean you have to go all alone. There are plenty of people out there who can support you. The second thing that Harvard does is that their endowment fund, because of the way it's set up, makes tax-protected profits. You and I can duplicate this tax protection by using an IRA like I touched on earlier. And the third thing that Harvard does is that they invest in alternative assets like real estate. This is one reason why they've been able to grow their endowment fund so large, because if the stock market goes up or the stock market goes down, their portfolio can be completely unaffected, because that has no bearing on their real estate holdings that provide consistent, predictable cash flow month in and month out. Warren Buffett endorses this strategy too. In fact, in International Business Times, Warren Buffett got a lot of press for talking about the fact that single-family homes are a great place to diversify and be investing money. So, what about real estate investing? Let's talk about the plan that 95% of investors today use, and then we're going to talk about how it's different when you decide to transition into other types of assets and self-directed like real estate. So the plan that most people use, the plan that Social Security said failed 95% of people, according to their study, looking at it over about a 40-year history, is that most people will go to a commission-based salesman who gives them advice. They pay fees and commissions based on investments, and they're typically limited to stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs. Now again, this is what most Americans do, and this is where Social Security said, 95%, it hasn't worked out for most Americans in the last 40 years. By contrast, how is a self-directed investment approach different? Well, the first thing is that you get complete control over your retirement account and your retirement dollars. You do that by transitioning into a truly self-directed IRA. What does it take to be, or what is a self-directed IRA? We're going to talk about that here in a second. I'll define what that is for you. You get to keep all your income and profits because you're not paying taxes on it, because you're dealing with a tax-protected environment. And can you still invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? Yes, you can, plus anything that the government allows. Your only limitation is basically a few rules that the government has in place and your own imagination. One of the number one places that we see clients investing their self-directed retirement accounts today is in the real estate market, because real estate offers some benefits that you just can't achieve anywhere else. So why specialized IRA services? So let's broaden that out a bit and talk about why do you need a self-directed IRA provider. So what, and let me take one step back and say, what is it? And ask the question, what is a self-directed IRA? Well, a self-directed IRA is an IRS-approved vehicle that allows you and I to get complete control over our retirement account, invest in what we want to invest in, and spend all our money tax-free. Now, what does it take, though, to get complete control over your retirement account? Well, you need a special type of IRA provider, one that does not charge commissions or loads on investments. You need a self-directed IRA provider, and that's what Specialized IRA Services does. We provide a self-directed IRA service to you. I never call you with the hot tip of the day or to sell you an investment or give investment advice. What we do is we establish the account, we give you terrific service, and we help you and guide you. Really, direct is the best word to say. Invest that account in anything that you decide you want to invest in. So you get to make all the investment decisions. You got complete control over it. And we simply provide the record keeping, the tax reporting, all the things that the IRS requires to keep that IRA in compliance. Those are the types of things we do. We put you in the driver's seat. So with a specialized self-directed IRA, it's your choice. You can pay less taxes or you can pay less taxes. Now, a lot of people will ask me, well, Edwin, which account is best for me? Well, here's the answer. there's no wrong choice. In fact, well, let me restate that. The only wrong choice is not using an IRA, because in that case, you're giving all your money to the government via taxes. So at Specialized IRA Services, you can self-direct a traditional IRA, which is a tax-deferred account, a Roth IRA, which we commonly refer to as a tax-free account, a 401k, and many other accounts. As a matter of fact, you heard Dave mention at the beginning that you can make money tax-free, and that's what a Roth self-directed IRA allows you to do, that you can actually make money and spend 100% of it tax-free. Now, I know what you're asking me, and I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Edwin, is it really possible to keep all the money you make and spend it 100% tax-free? That sounds too good to be true. You've got to be having some weasel words or some sort of caveat or qualifier in there. So let me be specific when I say tax-free. What do I mean by tax-free? Is that really possible? Here's what I mean. I mean you would pay no federal income tax, no state income tax, no local income tax, no capital gains tax, no Social Security tax, no Medicare tax, no AMT tax, no tax at all. Am I giving myself any outs here? I'm not. So when I say tax-free, that's what I mean. Is it really possible to make money and not pay taxes at all? Well, again, we've got to go back to the source. And the source when it comes to taxes and taxation is the IRS. And every year they publish publications, and this one is 590, and publication 590 is significant for today's purposes because publication 590 is the one that governs individual retirement arrangements or retirement accounts. And so to save you some time, I went to the section where it starts to talk about what is a Roth IRA. Now look here at the bottom, third paragraph, second sentence. But if you satisfy the requirements, qualified distributions, well, what are the requirements? 2, the account has to be open for 5 years, and you have to be 59 and a half. 5 years and 59 and a half, unless I tell you otherwise, okay. Qualified distributions are, and I highlighted it for you, tax-free. There are no caveats there. So is making money truly tax-free really possible? Yes, it is, and the IRS even was kind enough to put it in writing for us. Getting started is easier than you think because there's a few different ways that you can start a self-directed IRA. Now, if you don't have a retirement account of any kind at this point in time, you can start by contributing from your current income. If you do have a retirement account, like an old 401k, an old 403b, or other TSP type of plan, then you are allowed to roll that money into a self-directed IRA. There are no taxes and there are no penalties for moving that money when done correctly. The third way that you can put money or deposit money in that account is that you can transfer money from your current IRA at your bank or brokerage. So you can contribute money, you can roll money over from some old company-sponsored plans, and you can transfer money from existing IRAs. Those are 3 ways to get started with funding a self-directed IRA. What kind of results can you expect? Why are more and more people in droves becoming part of this exclusive elite group of investors that are leveraging the power of self-directed retirement account investing? Well, what they're looking for are 3 things, and this is what most people are able to achieve when they begin to move into that self-directed environment: consistency, predictability, and security. Let me just give you a quick example of what I mean by that. If you were to purchase a piece of real estate and hold it for rent inside of your retirement account, your dollars are secured by that property. It owns that property. It has a deed, correct? So it doesn't matter if the stock market takes a nosedive tomorrow, the value of your real estate is largely unaffected. Now, we said we were holding it for rent. So the tenant writes a check how often? Well, they write it every single month. That's pretty consistent. It's very predictable how much you're going to get. because the lease spells it out. If the lease says you're going to get $700 a month, the tenant can't write a check for $400 this month and $600 next month and maybe $700 the following month. If it says $700, your income stream is highly predictable. So this is what I mean by consistency, predictability, and security. And these are the kind of benefits that clients are looking for and achieving when they switch into the self-directed IRA environment. Now let's deal with what an end result is, because it's not so much about the retirement account as it is what it does for us. So what you and I are looking for at the end of the day is essentially the same thing. We want income because that's what we need to continue our lifestyle, right? To stop working and keep on living. So let me ask you a magic question, because this is one of those things that I love to talk about here when we talk about self-directing. This is one of the benefits of dealing in the self-directed world, because we can talk about things that they simply don't usually talk about in the traditional world. So here's a question. This is a result. What does it take to generate $100,000 per year for the rest of your life? Does that sound like a pretty tall order? Well, let me just give you one scenario and illustration on how that's possible. If you were to contribute $5,000 a year for the next 30 years and you got 10% on your money, okay? Now, let's stop here and let me just share a little bit of information very briefly on this. $5,000 per year for 30 years, okay? This is just for illustration purposes only. 10%. One of the challenges with returns in the traditional world is that they have what I call, or they report what I call, phantom returns. So in other words, if I asked you, did you make any money last year in the stock market, what would you tell me? You might tell me, I made 10% last year if you had an up year. Or you might, but let's just assume we'll go with that. You say that you were up 10% last year. Then my next question is to you, well, did you sell those investments? And your answer is, well, no, I still hold them. Well, if the stock market goes down 20% this year, did you still make 10% last year? Are you up at all? No. That's what I mean by a phantom return, because you never actually took the money out. Now let's change that scenario and look at a piece of real estate as an example, the buy and hold scenario that we talked about earlier. With a piece of buy and hold real estate, if you buy that piece of property and you make 10% a year based on the rental income, did you actually make 10% last year? Yes. How do you know that? Because the tenant wrote the check and that cash then was deposited into your account. You still have your asset, the piece of real estate, and you have the rental income in cash sitting in your account. Now that's a real return. That's the difference. So when we talk about investing it at 10%, what we mean is actually achieving and keeping your 10% every single year. That's critical to investment success. So what does that number look like? Well, $5,000 a year for the next 30 years at 10% will grow to $991,000. Now, if we were making 10% on our money and we never wanted to run out of money, we could spend our income every year and never draw down on our assets, could we? So if we're making 10% on our money, how much is that? That's $99,000 a year. And oh, by the way, if you're taking that out of a self-directed Roth IRA, you don't pay any tax on that income. You get to spend all $99,000 every single year. Is that absolutely amazing? And that's why I get so excited about this, because this is really what self-directing is all about. So what's the best way to get started? Well, one of the best ways to get started is to start consulting the experts in the business. Specialized IRA services as an IRA provider, as well as real estate investors if you're looking for real estate investments and someone to help you with that. And so on that topic, we talked about retirement accounts, retirement investing, and how that can work. There's different types of accounts you can invest, but now there's the other part of it. The other part of it is, how do you make that account grow? Well, that's where Dave comes in, because Dave is the expert in the real estate side of things. And so I'm going to turn it right back over to you, Dave. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Edwin. And hello, everyone. My name is Dave Payerchin from Columbus Turnkey Houses. And I'm super excited to bring you this information because I know many of you have never seen anything like what I'm about to show you. And you're going to see real life case studies of people who have grown their wealth and grown their income and really exploded their retirement with real estate. And you're going to learn how to retire like the ultra wealthy do using turnkey properties. These are properties that are already fixed up, producing income, and done for you. We are not talking about speculation investing. We're not talking about buying houses and hoping that they go up in value in a certain hot market. We're talking about income properties, and these are properties that you can retire with your self-directed retirement account that are producing income from day one. And really, folks, this is about breaking free, and this is taking control of your retirement so you never again have to rely on corporations or money managers or the government to dictate your financial legacy, your family legacy, and everything that you're capable of. And you're about to see how using your self-directed retirement account to acquire turnkey properties that are producing income from day one in the right markets, it really is the foolproof way to succeed. So really, you don't have to end up like the 95% of Americans who fail to become financially free. You're going to see how you can do this no matter what your experience level is, even if you're just starting out. And even if you don't have a self-directed retirement account, you're going to have the opportunity to get with us so we can get you on the path to success, get your retirement account started so you can start acquiring properties and make this work for you. So 95% of Americans fail to become financially free. This statistic is very disheartening, and this is what we're looking to change. And the biggest point that I want to make is if you're going to be different, then you have to do something different. And we need to look at what 95% of people are doing. What is not working? 95% of people are doing really what they think is the correct thing to do, and really they're doing what everybody else is doing, and that's the problem because it's like a sheep mentality. They're just following the herd, and they're leaving their 401k up to money managers who take their 401k money, and the money manager is going to invest into what the money manager wants to invest in, or worse yet, what the money manager is incentivized to invest in. This is your money. They're investing it how they want to. And unfortunately, this includes mostly stocks and mutual funds. And the problem is that with stocks and anything relying on the stock market is your hard-earned money for retirement is 100% out of your control. You are relying on corporations to succeed, and you have no idea what's going to happen to a lot of these companies. And I have a question for you. How many of you know somebody who has ever lost money in the stock market? Think about that. If I went on the street right now and I asked 100 people if they themselves or if they knew of somebody who had ever lost money in the stock market, how many of them do you think would say yes? The answer is probably 100% of them. Everyone knows somebody who has lost money in the stock market. In fact, especially in recent years, I think you would come to find that with stocks and mutual funds, most people's 401ks have now become 201ks, and that's the problem. So you have to do something different, and I heard this quote earlier, and it's completely relevant to what we're teaching. And the quote is, 92% of all millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires have made their money in real estate, or they keep their money in real estate. So real estate by far is the number one vehicle for creating wealth. And a lot of that has to do with, number one, instant equity. When you buy properties the correct way and you buy properties below market, you get instant equity in the property, which creates instant growth. Number two is appreciation. Real estate goes up in value. Number three is real estate is able to produce cash flow when it is rented out and managed by a professional. It's going to produce cash flow. And then also rents go up in time. Just like property values go up, rents go up as well. And I think we all know the US dollar, it's not going up, it's going down. So real estate is an excellent way to hedge your retirement against inflation. And what we're talking about investing in here are tangible assets. This is a real brick and mortar structure. This is not a stock that is completely out of your control. And with a tangible asset, this is able to produce the consistency, the predictability, and the security that we're looking for. Just like Edwin talked about, real estate allows us to do this when you do it the correct way. So why don't more people invest in real estate? Number one is they don't live in or they don't know about good cash flow rich markets to invest in. We get contacted all the time from people in California and other high dollar markets, and they just cannot succeed with cash flow properties in their market because houses are so expensive. So you need to know of a good marketplace to invest in if you're going to be successful with cash flow properties. Number two is people don't know how to find a good deal. Even if they know what a good market is, they don't know how to find a good deal. Number three is they don't know how to rehab or maintain properties. In fact, this scares the daylights out of a lot of people. Just thinking about getting a phone call about fixing a toilet seems to be the old adage. People don't know how to rehab properties or maintain properties. And number four is also a biggie. People don't know or they don't want to manage people, manage properties, and deal with tenants. So that's why a lot of people don't make it in real estate, because they just can't figure it out or they don't have the right team in place to do this. And who has the time to figure it all out? Especially if you're thinking about retirement, you don't want to leave your job and start a brand new job here. Don't make this difficult on yourself. Leave it to the professionals, and this is what we do. That's us. We make it easy. This is my business partner, RJ Pepino, and I. He's on the left, I'm on the right. And we've been actively investing in real estate since 2005. We own and manage our own portfolio of investment properties that we continue to add to. And we began buying properties together back in 2012. And when people began seeing the great deals that we were getting, and they began seeing the cash flow that we were creating and collecting from our properties, they began asking, how can we get our hands on some investment properties? And that was the beginning of Columbus Turnkey Houses. Right now, not only are we adding to our own portfolio of cash flow properties, but we're also the leading provider of turnkey investment properties. These are properties that are already fixed up and rented out, producing income, and managed by licensed professionals. We are the provider of these properties in the Columbus, Ohio market to investors all over the country and all over the world. Now, remember, one of the reasons people don't succeed in real estate is they don't live in or they don't have access to a team within a cash flow rich market. And we found Columbus, Ohio to be the perfect environment for real estate investments. In fact, I used to live in California and I moved back to Ohio. I'm from Ohio originally, but I came back to Ohio to take advantage of the investment properties here. And Columbus, Ohio is the only Midwestern city to show significant growth from 2012 up to right now, up to present day. And you may have heard about how Columbus, Ohio is an investor's best option from a real estate perspective, and this is from Real Estate Investor Magazine. A lot of people want to take advantage of this marketplace, but they don't have the team to do it, and now you do. If you're on this webinar right now, we are your team to provide you the most lucrative investment properties in the Columbus, Ohio market. We've been doing it for years, and now you have the opportunity to take advantage of this marketplace. And Columbus continues to grow largely because there are Fortune 500 companies here, including AEP, Nationwide Insurance is here, Big Lots is in Columbus, Ohio, Cardinal Health. Another major economic driver is The Ohio State University. And Ohio State is known for its championship caliber NCAA football, and you've probably seen them on TV. But a lot of people don't know this. Ohio State is on the forefront of cancer research and has over 60,000 students. Okay, so every year more and more people move to Columbus just to attend Ohio State, and all of these people need housing. This is great for the real estate market. And with the right team in place, you can live wherever that you want. You can live wherever you want, and you can maximize your investments by investing where it makes sense. And I want you to meet Joseph. Joseph lives halfway around the world in Singapore, and he wanted to maximize his own retirement. He wanted to maximize his income. So he continues to buy turnkey houses here in Columbus, Ohio, and he's never even laid eyes on his properties because he has the right team in place. And we surveyed Joseph, and Joseph said, I'm an international investor from Singapore and have been investing in real estate for more than 20 years. My research has led me to Columbus, Ohio. Good population growth, strong job creation, a thriving university environment coupled with relatively low housing prices makes it one of the best U.S. cities to invest in income-producing properties. He goes on to say, my experiences with Columbus turnkey houses has been very rewarding, and I am very happy with how Columbus Turnkey Houses has handled my investment properties in Columbus, Ohio. Well, thank you, Joseph. And the point is, even if you don't live in a cash flow rich market, with the right team in place, you can be successful, you can succeed. In fact, the majority of people that we work with and we help create wealth and we help expand their retirement accounts, they don't live in Columbus. And the majority of them have never even seen the property with their own eyes. And we get asked all the time, well, what if I don't know how to rehab properties? What if I don't know about, rehab and maintenance? And the point is, you don't have to, because every single property that we provide is already rehabbed for you. And we provide detailed pictures and detailed third-party inspection reports on every single property. So you're going to know exactly what's going on with your investment property, and you're going to be able to literally see before and after pictures. And since we're here in Columbus as your team, and since we're investors ourselves, that's very important. You want to know the people that you're working with are also investors, and we own and manage properties right here in the same marketplace. And we understand the importance of doing a solid rehab, doing a great job, because this is really what's going to make or break your investment. And as you can see just from these example pictures here, these are our properties that we've done for other investors. We rehab our properties from top to bottom, and we put a big emphasis on mechanicals. This is the hot water tank, the plumbing, the electrical box, the furnace, the roof, because these are high dollar ticket items, and we want to make sure everything is either replaced brand new or has a long lifespan on it for you, the investor, because we don't want you to experience any major, setbacks or major expenses in your first 5 years or so. We want everything to run nice and smoothly, because this is what's going to affect your ROI. Now, not only is the quality rehab going to make your investment just built to last, but it's also going to maximize your return on investment, because obviously the nicer the place is, the more someone is willing to pay to live there. And this means you're going to get more in rent, making your cash flow and your income just expand and go through the roof. And that's why our investors are successful. We take time to put time into the details and collect more in rents. And this is what's going to make your ROI, your return on investment, go through the roof. So what type of returns can be expected? We get that question all the time, and you can see more photos of our detailed rehabs here. But what kind of returns can be expected? Everyone, I want you to meet Jimmy. And Jimmy is an investor. He was basically someone who tried to make it on his own. And he tried to become a real estate investor. He was working in the early 2000s, and he used banks and banks, leverage. He went out and got bank loans to buy 14 properties. And he bought these properties, but then he soon came to find he couldn't manage the tenants. He was working a full-time job. He couldn't manage the tenants. And then the financial crisis hit, and this very soon or very rapidly turned into a personal crisis for Jimmy. Then things got worse. He had these properties, he couldn't manage the tenants, the financial crisis hit, he owed way more than the properties were worth, he had to let them all go, and then he was laid off from his job at 59 years old. He was an engineer. So he wanted to be successful. He needed a team. He wanted to go at this real estate thing again because he knew the advantages of real estate, but he didn't want to over leverage himself. And what he wanted to do was build equity, so he needed to be investing in the right markets, and he didn't want to deal with the hassles of dealing with tenants. So what Jimmy did is he rolled his 401k from his previous employer into a self-directed retirement account. And Jimmy was able to acquire this property. I wanted to go through the numbers. Just take a look at these numbers here. So Jimmy acquired this property on Dundee. The purchase price was $49,000. The appraised value of this property was over $84,000. So instantly, because he bought correctly, all of our investors, they're buying properties that already have equity in them. He was able to increase his self-directed IRA by 69%. It's a $34,000 increase in equity, while creating an annual predictable secure net income of over $5,500 a year, because his property is rented out and it's being managed. And he's getting an 11% annual return. He exploded his IRA because the property has equity, and this is a consistent, predictable, secure income stream for Jimmy. Now, folks, that's just one property. Just think what happens when Jimmy acquires 4 properties, 5 properties, as most of our investors do. They don't just buy one property, they buy multiple properties, so that just compounds their growth. Now, remember how I said he failed previously because he didn't want to manage tenants? Well, all of our properties that we provide have professional licensed property management in place. And what this means for you, the investor, is there's no dealing with tenants, there's no phone calls, and all the rents are direct deposited right into your self-directed IRA. And everything is managed by licensed professionals. We only use licensed individuals to manage our properties. And this is to the benefit of you, the investor, so you don't have to deal with tenants. Now, getting started. I know most of you are eager to get started and get your self-directed retirement account up and running, and you may even have some questions. So the best thing to do right now is to reserve a time to speak with us for a one-on-one strategy session. And what this means, it's 100% free, and this will allow you to get one-on-one attention. And we can answer all of your questions, any questions that you may have, and learn about your financial goals, and actually help you set goals if you're needing some direction, and start you on the process of creating a self-directed retirement account with Edwin, and get you on the road to financial freedom. And we can also get some properties in front of you and walk you through the ABCs of turnkey investing with a self-directed retirement account, or just turnkey investing. If you want to buy properties for cash, you can do that too. And to get started, all you have to do is click the button below, and you'll be able to easily reserve a time to speak with us. But do please keep in mind that our time is limited, so don't hesitate. Don't wait till the end of the webinar. If you're ready to get on the road to financial freedom, reserve a time to speak with us right now. And we work with people in all situations. Everybody, I want you to meet Terry Lockwood. Terry lives in Southern California, and his mother is dealing with a terminal illness, and he needed to supplement his income so he can properly care for his mother, and he needed to put his mother's financial house in order. So his financial advisor recommended that he contact Columbus Turnkey Houses, and after he did his due diligence, he purchased 3 properties here in the Columbus area, and 2 of the properties were single-family homes or single-family properties, as you can see in the pictures, and one of the properties was a 4-unit building. And here's how the numbers went for Terry. The total purchase price for all 3 properties was $228,856. So roughly $228,000. The appraised value of these properties was $242,000. So the equity at closing was over $13,000 for Terry. And the total gross rental income of the 4 units in the 2 single-family homes was over $3,500 a month. The total net positive cash flow, this is after factoring in vacancy and maintenance, and conservatively looking at this, Terry's able to collect over $2,100 a month in positive cash flow. That's over $25,000 a year, with an annual return on investment of 10.5%. Okay? Now, keep in mind that as time goes on, we're all thinking long term here. As property values continue to increase and rents continue to increase, that just makes your wealth and your income and your retirement grow that much more. And this protects your retirement and this protects your income against inflation. Like we said in the beginning, the value of the US dollar is not going up, it's going down. So you need to protect yourself. And the fastest and easiest way to get started here is, first off, to keep in mind time is not on your side. And the longer that you wait to get started, the less you will have in the future. And you want to invest in a tax-free environment. And this is what we're going to help you do by helping you set up a self-directed retirement account. And then you can invest in what we consider to be the very best cash flow market, which is here in Columbus, Ohio. You can work with our team to achieve your goals with turnkey properties, and you can create income and create equity from day one. And it's all about getting started. And really, at this point, you're left with three choices, okay? Choice number one is you can choose to do nothing, and you can leave your retirement up to money managers or corporations or the government. And choice number one is going to lead you down the path of the 95% of people who fail to achieve financial freedom, like we talked about in the beginning. And unfortunately, with choice number one of doing nothing, you will remain average and always live in wonder of what could have happened if you just would have done something different. Choice number two is you can take what you learned here today and you can go out there and you can try to do everything yourself. Now, everyone knows somebody who always wants to do everything themselves. And these are the same people who know a lot of stuff but never really succeed in any one field. They're the jack of all trade and the master of none. And with choice number two is you want to do everything yourself. So you get out there and you start doing research to find a good cash flow market, and you find maybe you find a good market, and then you start marketing to find a good deal, and then maybe you find a good deal, and now you got to find contractors or people who can fix your property up and maintain your property. And then you got to deal with tenants and manage the property. It just turns into a big mess. And the problem with choice number two, by trying to do everything yourself, is you potentially could even end up worse off than you were before you got started. So if it's between choice number one of doing nothing at all and choice number two of trying to do it all yourself, I'm going to suggest that you do nothing at all and do choice number one. Or you can do choice number three. And choice number three is you click the button below and you set up a time for a free strategy session. And with choice number three, you begin working with a team of professionals who's established in the marketplace and who has already helped out a ton of people in your shoes. In fact, we've probably helped out people in worse off situations than you. And we're going to work with you and we're going to answer all your questions and walk you through this step by step and walk you through the ABCs of growing your retirement account, your self-directed retirement account, and getting all this set up. And we look forward to speaking with you and helping you achieve your financial goals. And let us help you with the whole process from A to Z and setting up a self-directed retirement account. And you can start looking at some properties. And let's get you in the right direction here. And we look forward to speaking with you. Click the button below. Set your time up to speak with us. We look forward to giving you the one-on-one attention that you deserve. And I do have to say it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you this information. And we look forward to seeing you succeed and create wealth. We look forward to speaking with you. And we'll talk soon.